she did an exercise that I thought was helpful, and I do from time to time. That is, take a piece of paper and on the left column, write, in order of importance, everything that is important to you. So if you think about, hey, my family is important, my career is important, my job, or learning this new skill, or doing this thing, this hobby that I love, or doing this and that, write everything that you think is important. And then on the next column, write on how much you spend your time on, the things that you spend your time on, and how much time do you spend. So what is the biggest time sinker that you have? What is the next thing? And how do you compare those two columns?
Welcome to Latinx in Power, a podcast hosted by Thaisa Fernandes.
Welcome to Latinx in Power. It's an honor to have Cristina Rufeisen today.
Thank you so much, Thaisa. I'm so happy to be here.
Likewise, Cristina is a Senior Director, IT Program Management at Electronic Arts. She's an accomplished IT leader with experience in the high-tech, digital media, and life science industries, leading global teams to develop, deploy, and support business solutions. She's passionate about diversity and inclusion. Cristina also serves as a co-chair of the Hispanic Latinx Employees Resource Group at Electronic Arts. She's a member at the Latinas in Tech and Brasileiras do Vale Brave community.
Great.
My favorite question, Cristina, I need to ask you that. What does it mean to be a Latina for you?
Wow, that is a very interesting question. So if I think about it, for me, I believe it means to be Brazilian, representing a little bit of Brazil on all things, being sort of an ambassador for Brazilian people, culture, embodying the combination of the working hard, being passionate and all in, but also being warm and caring. So that combo there, I think it is what it means to me to be Latino. I do wear my Brazilianness as a badge of honor. If you get to know me in the first 3 minutes, you're going to know I'm a proud Brazilian. On the other hand, I was thinking about it, and this dimension of being Latina really started emerging a little bit more after I moved to the US at the start of my professional career. Because growing up in Brazil, as you know, everybody is Latino there, right?
You brought a really good point. I think I feel the same way. I think I have a better sense of belonging to the Latinx community only after I moved to the US. I think in Brazil, we don't talk about that much. And maybe it's changing right now. I think I'm seeing more people identifying themselves as Latinas, Latinos, Latinx in Brazil. But for sure, when we move to the US, it's a different experience.
That's true.
And talking a little bit more about your background, you studied computer science. How was the process of choosing your bachelor degree?
So I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew what I didn't want to do. And I didn't want to lock myself into one particular area and felt that I wouldn't have a lot of flexibility to operate in different fields. So I was really looking for something that would enable me to maybe change areas, change jobs. And I felt that computer science, every area needs technology, every area needs technology solutions. So I felt that if I chose something like that, I would be able to retain a lot of flexibility to move and try different things in my career. At the time, actually, nobody owned a computer, back then. Personal computers were not something that you would find everywhere, and not many people in my circles actually did do computer science. So I didn't know what to expect, didn't know much of what a software engineering profession was. And in fact, I had not even coded any line of code before coming to the university. And you know that in Brazil, we have to declare our major even before we get into the university. So I took a little bit of a gamble there. I didn't know exactly what to expect. I learned to code on my first programming class right in college. And luckily, it turned out okay. I loved what I learned using algorithms, using logic. And I found myself being able to do a little bit of quiet work. If I was programming and doing my thing, I would be in my zone, but also being able to do the part of the business analyst and talk to people, understand how we could use technology to solve problems. I loved doing that too. So it turned out that it was a good choice after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you are in the best place like ever to be, right? If you work with technology. So this is amazing. And I love your thinking behind. I feel that for a lot of people, they might just focus on what they like to do, not just eliminating at first what they absolutely don't enjoy doing. So I really like that. Really smart.
It was a little bit of a gamble, but it worked. I think today, when folks are getting into technology, they have so much more of an opportunity to experiment. Everybody, the kids are already, come in, they program and they even playing the video games and do the different web pages and different apps. I think they have a lot more opportunity to get started earlier. But back then it was a little harder to find, personal computers and to get your feet wet.
Mm-hmm. And how was your experience moving to the US from Brazil and living in the Bay Area for so many years?
When I started, this opportunity came by because I was working at the time at Hewlett-Packard, and it was where I had done my internship on my last year of university. So I was there first as an intern, then I was hired, and it was about maybe my third year in the job. I had a working relationship with the team here in the US because they supported our systems there in Brazil. And I signaled to my boss there, which was a great manager, that I wanted to have more of an international experience because I was in Brazil. I had never, done much outside the country, and I wanted to try it out, be exposed to more opportunities outside of Brazil. And then there was an opportunity to come to the team that we were working very closely with here in the US. At the time, actually, my husband was very supportive. He decided to quit his job and come with me to the US, which was great. He didn't have a work permit to start with, so I was the only one working. So he went back to school and we came over. It's like, hey, both of us adventurous. We didn't have any kids at the time. And if I look back and think of it, we, usually people take a preview trip and they come and they check out the territory, this is going to work for me. And him and I is like, nope, we're in. Just let's buy the tickets, off we go. It's the US of A, what can go wrong, right?
So you moved without even seeing the city where you're going to live?
We just said, yes, let's set a date. Great. Is the paperwork all great? Ready to go? Let's go. So we came in and I remember landing here and then driving on El Camino Real. And it's like, wow. And thinking, we're here. First time. So we started, we had temporary housing with the help of the company. It was an HP at the time. And, navigating. And I clearly remember thinking, wow, we're here. Where are we going to be in a month from now? And then a month from now, I was thinking, hey, here we are. Things are settling in. I'm starting my job. Where are we going to be 6 months from now? And then I remember thinking, hey, it's the 6 month mark. What are we doing? And so Eduardo, my husband, he changed his career. So he has a degree in economics and then a master's on advertisement. And when he came over here, he actually moved and changed to more of the film, motion picture and television. I think film is where he wanted to go to. So he had to create a portfolio. So he went back to studying and creating portfolio while I was working. And I remember doing those checkpoints from time to time and thinking, where are we going to be? When we moved, our commitment with the company was for 2 years. And we said, hey, we are going to move for 2 years. Great. And then here I am after, 20-some years, still here.
So the plan was live here for 2 years and then go back to Brazil?
The commitment was 2 years. So when the company said, hey, if you want to come, but you have to commit to stay at least 2 years. And after 2 years, then, we didn't have any commitments to make the investment for moving everything. And I remember, doing those checkpoints from time to time. And I think we did it, then the 1 year mark and maybe a couple of years. And then after that, it just went so fast. It's all a blur.
Really good point. I love this idea of having checkpoints from time to rethink how the things are going and if we need to adapt. I think this is a really good resource and tool to use. And I remember when I moved to here, I had no idea how long I will stay. And my first friend here, we're still really good friends, Sugi, she mentioned that she wanted to stay for 5 years. And when I heard the number 5 years, my first thought, it is a lot. 5 years is a lot. I have no idea if I will stay here for 5 years. And then 6 years passed, and I'm pretty sure that I will stay here for a lot of time.
It sneaks up on you, But it's always amazing to see, because if somebody was going to tell you, like, in 6 years you're going to be here, it's like, no. But it's like interesting to see how much your expectation is. And that's where I think it's important to keep those checkpoints at shorter intervals, because if you try to project things too much in the future, it's hard to say what's going to happen. You have to be open and keep an open mind to see. And sometimes what your expectations are and what you had planned to happen, so many things change along the way. And it's important to adapt so that you can be positioned to be taking advantage of what good things that be becoming your way that you didn't even expect.
Great point. I love that. Let's all have checkpoints. And tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these phrases. First one of my favorites too, your superpower.
The superpower, I think maybe something along the lines of collaboration, adaptability, flexibility. I really enjoy the challenge of being thrown in a new environment and have to figure out how to best mobilize to get the job done, which may require a different approach depending on the group you're in, the task at hand. So being able to adapt quickly and making the most out of the situation, I'd say that's probably one of the strengths that I have.
I love it. It's a really good strength. And a book.
I would say I really enjoyed Becoming by Michelle Obama. Such an inspiring story, learning about her roots, her career, her struggles, how she always kept putting things in perspective, even when she was in a position of power. She always kept herself grounded. And I think it's so refreshing and comforting when you see the public image that you have from somebody match what comes out from the inner self. It was really nice seeing that the persona that she has, and even when she's being so, open in her book, that, it matches. And it creates this kind of powerful, enriching experience for us. Like, wow, it's warming to the heart. And seeing such a great example of a path and a journey that she had, I think it's very inspiring.
Yeah, I agree. I love this book, and I love her family. I really enjoy reading the book, and I was fascinated by her family. They are all amazing. It's also a movie now. I don't know if you watch it. It's inspired by the book.
I saw the documentary. It was really nice. And her mom also is a character, right? Just she goes on about her thing. She never changes one bit. It's so interesting to see. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love when she mentioned about people asking her, "Are you Michelle Obama's mom?" And she's like, "Nope."
Yeah, and almost she didn't want to come to live with them in the White House. And then there were all those big trips going on outside. And she's like, "No, I don't think I'm going." It's like, "Mom, come for the kids." Then she would go for the girls. But she was like unaffected by all the stuff going on those high circles there. It's pretty fun to see.
Yeah, I love that. And program management.
Well, as I mentioned, I started my career as a software engineer and eventually found my way towards project and program management. I think the logical thinking, the coordination kind of thing. And that's my sweet spot. I love to do that. That's what, I thrive doing. And my motto as a project manager and program manager really is no surprises. So I think that's what comes to mind for me. Some folks that are starting in this area may think that the best projects are the projects that are the ones that, go on without a hitch, that they start and end, everything looks beautiful. But that's not, the reality. It's almost impossible to have a project goes on without having a change or something that comes up that you're not expecting. So for me, when I think about program management and I think of no surprises, this is what you do when something comes up. Right? Are you adjusting your plan? Are you flagging that? And maybe your project's getting into the red zone. And some people are afraid of, flagging, and because that may they may think it may reflect badly on them as program managers, but actually it's the opposite. when you flag and you try to tap into the resources that you have to fix the situation and give visibility to folks that may be within your reach to maybe ask for their help. Maybe you have sponsors that are willing to come in and help to make sure that the date is not changing, or that they can put more resources in, or the quality of the product is not compromised. So all of those things are only possible if you're really keeping your eyes open and you're calling your project status as it is. And I think that's what makes good project and program management, is how you really react with when faced with change that is inevitable.
I love that. And I usually say, I'm also a program manager, so I usually say that the mindset that I try to have in my job is that I'm a problem solver. So because problems are coming and going, and it's more like this mindset, or like, okay, it's going to happen, but I will solve that. I will find a solution and work together towards the best solution ever. So I love to have this mindset.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Being prepared and aware so that you can take advantage of all the resources that may be available to you at your disposal, and keeping the eye on the end game, right? What is that you want to deliver, by when you need to deliver, and then adjusting along the way. Change is going to happen. Try to make sure everybody's informed. I think that's the no surprise part of it. It's like the surprise is not the change. The surprise is that nobody should be left out of the loop in trying to deal with that change.
And I love this part of also being transparent with your team, that being open about, okay, maybe some things will go wrong or it'll be different, but we are going to solve that. And I think it's alleviates a lot of pressure of like trying to anticipate everything, every issue, every detail, like being perfect, because we know this is not going to happen. And if we try, it will be really exhaustive.
That is absolutely right. Saving your energy.
And a hobby.
I love actually cooking. So adventures in the kitchen, I really love doing that. Being from Brazil, as you know, we have different heritages as part of our, composition. So my family of half is Italy, so Italian. So a good pasta, lasagna, anything with cheese, I'm down for it. And I love cooking, different variations of that. And the other side is Lebanese. So my mom, it cooks really well. She does esfihas and, arroz marroquino and other things that are so delicious. So I like to try some of those things out in the kitchen. So I think that would be my hobby.
I love that. A lot of people might not know that, but our culinary in Brazil has a lot of inspiration from the continent of Africa, and also from other countries too, from Italian food, Lebanese, Japanese food. So they are pretty much part of our daily lives.
In fact, I would say, being from São Paulo, we have such a fantastic Italian community in São Paulo. I would dare to say that the Italian food from São Paulo is better than, the pizza from São Paulo is better than the pizza from Italy. No, I'm sure I'm going to get killed by that, but that's, I just love our Italian food.
Amazing. And you work in a field mainly dominated by men for many years. How's your experience as an IT leader have been? What is to have a place in tech?
So, like many other women with a technical background, I have seen myself, be in a position where I was one of the few, sometimes the only female person in the room or in the meeting or in the project. So one thing that was helpful, and I would highly encourage, other women to do, is to build your network, within your company, outside your company, really connecting with other women that might be out there, and also allies that are going to help you amplify your voice. There are so many amazing resources that are out there. And, we were talking about that the other day, Thaisa. One resource that I think is especially valuable is the annual Grace Hopper Conference, which is one of the world's largest gathering of women in computing. It's been going on since 1994 and grows each year. It has like several tracks, workshops, presentations. There are fantastic keynote speakers, women sharing their stories. I have learned so much. I have participated for a couple of years and have learned so much. First year I attended was 2016. It was in Houston that year. I was like blown away when I remember stepping into this arena that was filled with lots of women, like 15,000 women. So powerful, the energy. And the first session I attended actually was the keynote speaker was the CEO of IBM, Ginny Rometty. So she was very, very inspirational, and she told us, everything about Watson and what was going on at the time. But the one bit that I recall very well was her sharing a story about how she didn't feel ready to get into the next level of leadership. And this is the CEO of IBM, mind you. If she's having those sorts of questions. So I was very curious. So she said that at one point in her career, and she was already pretty senior by then, her boss was leaving and selected her to take his place. And she didn't feel ready. She said, I am interested, but I need one more year. I'm not ready yet. And she wrestled with that decision for a while. Should I take it? Should I not? It was not until her husband asked her, do you think that any of your male counterparts would be responding this way? Would they have all sorts of questions like you're having? Then that's when she finally decided to do it. And for me, that was really telling, because like that session, there were so many others that were eye-opening, inspiring sessions. So Grace Hopper really gave me awareness of many things that were happening around me, with me, but I could not fully kind of articulate before. I had participated in some impactful workshops, the themes that resonated around your personal branding, finding your voice, being your authentic self, mentorship and sponsorship, imposter syndrome, walked away with concrete tools and resources to move into action. And it was such a great experience. And I got to connect with so many other women from all walks of life and all different parts of the country and jobs. So it was awesome. And also there were some men there, some brave men, not as many, within the 15,000 sea of women. But men also, in this great, they are very important allies in this journey. I think participating in a conference and sessions like that really helped me to identify things that I was not even tuned into before, and could have some things on my toolbox to deal with that. Like Grace Hopper, there are several other not only conferences, but organizations and resources that women in tech can really tap into. If we talk specifically about Latina women, there are some groups that are doing great work out there, like Latinas in Tech that you and I are very familiar with, Latinas in Computing. And you talked about, we were talking about before, South America. There is a great annual conference in South America called Latinity. And actually, it was started by folks that have attended Grace Hopper and wanted to replicate that experience and start seeding that experience for folks that were not here in the U.S., but was still in Latin America. Yeah, it's awesome. I know one of the founders that started, Luza Jaramillo. She is fantastic. And it takes place every year in a different country in Latin America. This year, they didn't have it because of the coronavirus, but and it's increasing in the number of participants. It's becoming very big force there as well. And also additional ways, conferences and those groups that we are talking about, but also you can connect with other women as part of giving back and volunteering. So there's an organization that called Latinitas that has great opportunities to volunteer and work with girls from 9 years old to 18 years old. Other organizations like Girls Who Code, So there are many opportunities out there. What I would say, to build your toolkit and the resources that you can use to navigate, I think, being a woman in tech.
And adding to this list, I don't know if you know about them, Cristina, but there's also Dev Mission. They are based in Bay Area. They are in the Mission District, and their main goal is to help folks, I believe it's from 18 to 25 years old, to land their first job in tech. And they do a lot of events. They all are online right now. You can volunteer to facilitate an event. You can also create your own workshop and mentor those folks, and of course donate money, and they are great. I'm a big fan of the work they have been doing, and I volunteer for them. It's been a long time already. And what are you most proud of?
Well, that is a hard question to answer, right? How can somebody answer that? I would say that if you think about it, professionally speaking, we all have our special moments, the ones that we feel are important and contributors for growing our careers. Rather than looking at anything specific like that, if I could think more, I would point out more to a trait. Something that I feel that is more something that carries through the whole body of my professional journey, along the lines of, tenacity, resilience, self-reliance. I think that would be a theme that I would feel pretty proud of, rather than a particular accomplishment. There are ups and downs, but having the resilience to get through whatever the challenge is ahead, I think it's a great asset. So for me, no matter how small the steps, every time we show up and we do what we have to do with determination, with grace, we put a check mark on the win column. So I would say that from a professional perspective, that I would mention something like that. And on a personal level, I think the thing that I'm most proud of are my kids. This is the most important thing, the most important job, being a mom, and it's not an easy one, especially as they grow up. You have to be pretty consistent and stay in line and make sure that you are modeling the right behaviors. I think those would be what I would call out.
Love it. And when did you find your voice?
As you know, in our culture, and I think also this is true for women, we don't feel super comfortable advocating for ourselves. We don't want to come across as if we are bragging or promoting ourselves. We typically think that if we do a great job and get great results, the work will speak for itself and right things will happen as far as your career, promotions. But we know that that's not always the case, right? On the other hand, we do a great job advocating for others. If you have a coworker, somebody that you're working with, an employee, somebody that you think is doing really a great job, we are very passionate and we are in line and we kind of want to, make sure that they get the recognition they deserve. So I use a little trick that is to think of me as if I were somebody else. So if I had a coworker that accomplished this or that, how would I show up for him or her? What if I remove myself from the situation and think of myself as another person? What would I say? And so try to keep it objective that way. And I also use this when I'm feeling that I'm being too harsh on myself for whatever reason. If I missed something or something that could have gone better, then I step outside of the box a little bit, outside of myself, and do a quick reality check and say, what is, instead of me, this was somebody else? Would I be this harsh? And I kind of use that little trick, and then I think that helps so that we can be a little bit more objective when we think about ourselves. And I think that has worked. Another thing too that I do, and I'm doing more and more and encourage everybody to do, is to ask for what you want. People cannot read your mind. If you have an idea, for example, you want to take more responsibility in one area, or you want to participate in a challenging project, make that known. Talk to your manager, signal that way, even if there's not an opportunity right now. But if you keep talking about it, if you signal that that's what you'd like to go, is steer this way, steer that way, I think you can bring more partnership and you can be very clear. Folks will know what you want. Next time that an opportunity comes by, they will have that in mind. So doing a few things like that, I think they help you to find your voice and use it.
I absolutely love that. Be kind to yourself. Think as yourself as the way you would talk with a friend and also ask for what you want. And this is super powerful. And I think it's incredible to set the expectations too, because sometimes the other person might think something needs to be done and you have in your mind other idea of what needs to be done. And I think this set that expectations part, it's also really powerful, so you can be in sync and in the same page.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, I think we should treat ourselves as well as we treat others.
Yeah.
So, don't be so hard on yourself, and also think about your accomplishments as as highly as you would think of anybody else, so that you can give yourself a fair shot.
Mm-hmm. And what did you wish you had known when you started out?
So one of the things I think first is don't take things so seriously. It will all work out. Relax. We take things so seriously. We plan. And then the other thing, I think it's prioritize. Knowing how to prioritize the things that are really important, especially if you progress through your career. From time to time, check in. Are you spending time on the right things? And in fact, I recall one exercise that I learned in one of the Grace Hopper sessions, that I participated. It was a lady that was talking about, prioritization, and she did an exercise that I thought was helpful, and I do from time to time. That is, take a piece of paper and on the left column, write, in order of importance, everything that is important to you. So if you think about, hey, my family is important, my career is important, my job, or learning this new skill, or doing this thing, this hobby that I love, or doing this and that, write everything that you think is important. And then on the next column, write on how much you spend your time on, the things that you spend your time on, and how much time do you spend. So what is the biggest time sinker that you have? What is the next thing? And how do you compare those two columns? The things that you care about and the things that you're spending your time on. Are they aligned? Are there adjustments that you need to make? So it's such a simple exercise, but it can be so powerful because you're going to be looking at it and say, wow, I'm spending all this time in something that really, it's like at the bottom of my list. What should I do? This session was really powerful because she walked us through how she did this exercise and made some really very significant changes in her life. She actually ended up changing her career, her working hours, many impactful things, but started from really doing this reality check on where are you using the time and if they are aligning with your priorities. That's another thing, useful advice that I wish I had earlier on in my career. And then other thing I would think of is expand your network. Find your crowd, internal, external, groups, organizations like we were talking about. Be aware of the resources that are available to you. I think now more than ever is so easy. Go out there and find many different organizations that you can associate yourself with. Opportunities to participate, to lead, to join forces with other groups. Also, even as part of that, maybe join an employee resource group. I don't know if, for me and my company, that was a fantastic experience. So if folks have that opportunity in their own companies, I think that helps a lot. So looking at back to the question, I think the value of networking and finding opportunities to expand your reach beyond just the functional area and the folks that you work with on a day-to-day basis.
Amazing. I loved your tips and the resources and tools you shared. And you have one of the dream jobs in a dream company. And I would love to hear more. How is your experience working in a company who leads the game industry?
It's a fantastic place, I have to say. I changed jobs. So I came from a very large company, HP. This is the company that I came to the US when I first moved here, and I spent many years there. We look at EA as a large company as well, but if I look at where I came from, that was Hewlett-Packard, EA was not as large in comparison. And for me, actually, that was perfect. When I first joined EA, I loved the fact that it was large enough to have the supporting structure and the resources, but not so large that it felt like everything was already baked. And I believe this is really true to this day. There are so many opportunities to shape the work that you do, I think, no matter in the area that you are at. Even my own job has evolved in ways that I would not have even imagined. And I had a very active voice in shaping that up. with the support of my management team and my leadership team. So there's flexibility and openness. And that's why it's really important that you see yourself in the culture of the company and the environment that you are working at. To thrive, you really need to feel a sense of belonging, that you can bring your whole self to work, to be your authentic self. EA, I'm fortunate because I have a fantastic, leadership team that supports growth and trying different things. And EA as a whole, all levels, employees and leadership, they have been very committed to a culture of inclusion and ever growing and even more active and present. Because after all, we build better games when all the players see themselves represented and reflected in our products. So it's been an amazing ride. I have to say, I'm very, very happy there.
I love it. Thank you so much. I really loved our conversation. It was really inspiring. I have a lot of tools to think more about it. So thank you so much, Cristina. It was really nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Thaisa. So my pleasure.
That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it and have a lot of fun as I did. Feel free to share your thoughts and feedback with us. Our handle is Latinx in Power in all social media channels. So feel free to send us a message, always with kindness, and I would love to hear your thoughts.